Welcome everyone to this exciting webinar called Building High Value Data Products. My name is Sanjeev Mohan and I am so delighted to be on this. So Ashley, over to you.
Thanks, Sanjeev. Hey, everybody, welcome. I see we have a few people still trickling in, so I will give everyone here just a little bit of time and we will get started. Thanks, Sanjeev.
You're welcome.
Okay, people are going to keep coming in, but we will go ahead and get started. So again, welcome everyone. And as Sanjeev said, welcome to our session, Building High Value Data Products, 3 steps to democratize data transformations for business analytics. We're really excited to have you all here. My name is Ashley Blaylock. I'm the Director of Demand Generation here at Prophecy, and I will be your moderator and host for today's session. Just a little housekeeping before we begin. If you guys have questions at any time during the session, we are more than excited to receive those questions. You can look at the Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen to type those in, and we'll do our best to answer those live in the panel discussion. And if we're not able to, we will definitely be following up with each of you to make sure we get those answered. I also just want to remind everyone that today's session is being recorded and everyone will get access to this recording shortly after the webinar concludes. So that will be coming your way. And then lastly, of course, we'd love to have you all stick around for the entire webinar. We do have a great product demo. We'll have an interesting panel, and then we have a couple of big announcements we'd like to share with you all as it relates to upcoming activities here from Prophecy. So we'd like to invite you to stick around. Moving right along, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our speakers for today's session. First off, we're super excited to introduce Sanjeev Mohan to our session, who is an established thought leader in the areas of cloud, big data, and analytics. He researches and advises on changing trends and technologies in modern cloud data architectures. Until recently, he was a Gartner vice president known for his prolific and detailed research and for directing the data and analytics agenda at Gartner. Now a principal at SanjMo, he provides advisory and consulting services covering modern data architectures, governance, data ops, data products, and observability. He regularly presents on topics pertaining to end-to-end data pipelines and help businesses discover what their data can really do for them. So again, really, really excited to have you here, Sanjeev. And I'd like to go ahead and introduce our speakers from Prophecy. First up, we have Raj Bains, who is our founder CEO here at Prophecy. Previously, he was the product manager at Apache Hive at Hortonworks and witnessed enterprises struggling to be productive with big data. His engineering career includes being one of the initial developers for CUDA NVIDIA and working in the Microsoft Visual Studio team. He has expertise in compilers, databases, and programming language design. Welcome, Raj. And next up, we're equally again as excited to introduce Maciej Szpakowski, who is also a co-founder here at Prophecy. At Prophecy, Maciej is focused on the development of the low-code platform. Previous to this, he has founded a startup where he built many data engineering and ML-based products. That journey made him realize how critical yet challenging building a robust data foundation is for every organization. Today, he's very excited to unveil how Prophecy can enable your team to work with data much faster. And with that, everyone, please join me in the chat in welcoming our esteemed panel of speakers here. And I also just want to say we're very excited again to have each one of you. Don't be shy, introduce yourselves in the chat, let us know where you're joining in from. And again, we're very excited to have you here. And without further ado, Sanjeev, I'd like to go ahead and hand it over to you to kick us off.
Thank you so much, Ashley. I'm so excited to be on this that I almost stole your thunder. So, in fact, I was just looking at the participant list, and there's so many of people that I work with every day in the community who have joined. So thank you so much to all of you who have joined, and to Prophecy for giving me this opportunity to indulge in some of my most passionate topics that I'd like to talk about, such as where are we in this data and analytics space today, and what are the challenges we are facing. The challenges are one side of the coin, but why talk about challenges if you don't have some sort of a solution. And this is where we will then talk about what are we doing to overcome these challenges and how prophecy is playing a huge part in helping us get better at data and analytics. So that is our agenda for today. And as Ashley said, please feel free to post your questions in Q&A. We want to leave a lot of time to answer your questions. So I'm going to quickly go into my section where I'm talking about the current state and the challenges, followed by the solution. But I want to start with, what does a business want? This, surprisingly, is what we IT tech people neglect sometimes. For example, this very webinar talks about data products. But if you talk to a business person, they don't speak our language. What they want is they want fast access to data. They don't want to get blocked by a data engineering team that takes forever to respond to their request. The business team could be, a marketing campaign that's going on right now. They want to know what's going on as it happens. Now, another example I sometimes give is of a medical practice that has a hospital, hundreds, thousands of doctors. These doctors may want to know what's happening with the latest clinical trials. What are the reports being published by the pharma companies? What are the other doctors saying about it? So what they want is a comprehensive view of data, which is coming from different data sources. And of course, none of this would be of any use if you cannot trust the data. So they want that ability to say, this data is secure, it meets all the data protection guidelines that you may have, data privacy, compliance, regulations, and this data is reliable. So that is what the business wants. On the other side, what do we as part of data team have to do? So we have to build this pipeline to deliver the analytics, which means we have to have connectors. We need to go to all of these different data sources. The number of data sources are expanding at such a rapid pace. I have seen a number of surveys over the last year or so that show even a small, medium-sized company today has over 100 SaaS products. When I started my career, it was all very cut and dry. All my data sources were inside the firewall, on premises. There was no concept of cloud at that time, and they were more or less structured data. But today, we've got all kinds of multi-structured data. Some is batch, some are streaming. And what do I, as a data engineer, need to do? I need to collect all this data coming at different velocities, and then I need to start enriching this data, unifying this data, doing data quality, cleansing of data. And of course, I want to do all of this as quickly as I can and have a clear understanding of data observability. But now I'm not just doing ETL as I used to do. We are doing ETL, we're doing ELT, we're doing reverse ETL. In fact, it's so funny because whatever is old keeps coming back. So ETL was written off, and now I'm starting to see people are saying, ETL is back. So whatever it may be, who are my consumers? My consumers are increasing at a rapid clip. And these consumers want self-service access at very low latency, and I need to make sure that I am providing high latency of these users. Not only have the number of data consumers increased, but also the use cases that they are now putting forth. In fact, I have to say that, we talk about a lot of trends in our space. Data is a mega trend by itself. Generative AI is consuming all our mindset and mindshare, but behind that is actually data. In my opinion, data is a victim of its own success because that's the amount of demand we have. So not only do we now have operational use cases, we've got our traditional analytics use cases, machine learning, generative AI, but also we are now consuming data using many different data delivery methods. And we will see that in the next slide. But in order for me to build this, what I really need is some sort of a platform that helps me connect the left side to the right side with proper security, governance, and all of the guidelines that need to be in place. So here is how the number of data delivery approaches have multiplied. We've had data warehouses now for a few decades. Cloud data warehouses reinvigorated the traditional data warehouse. Data lakes came in, which also got reinvigorated by lake houses, which now give you this ability to get the best of both worlds. You've got the data lakes and you've got the data warehouses. On top, we are now starting to do some integration of pieces through data fabric, and data mesh is another decentralized way of delivering my data products. And we will talk a lot about data products. But then data virtualization, data sharing, exchanges, marketplace, all of these today exist in an organization. So it's not like I am a purely Microsoft SQL Server data warehouse shop. That's it. You've got a variety of different styles. So this is all great, but then we have a lot of challenges. So let's talk about some of the challenges so then we can get to solutions, and we can then appreciate what we are now doing to overcome these challenges. For example, our data may not be on time. Data quality has been a persistent problem. And as we go into generative AI, you cannot have poor data quality. It defeats the purpose of any advancements that we make. Also, pipelines break. So if pipelines break and I don't have transparency into what happened, then guess who finds out the number is wrong on the dashboard? It is the consumer. Why is it that the CFO is coming to the data team and saying this number on the dashboard is incorrect? The data teams have a massive mandate to deliver business objectives. All of a sudden, they go into a reactive mode, start firefighting because they don't have transparency into where things broke. And now, instead of innovating, we are doing damage control. Some of it is because we've got manual, repetitive processes that take just forever to respond. And also, when a number breaks on a dashboard, the question begs, who is responsible for this? Is it the SAP data source that got combined with Salesforce and Oracle with some historical data in Teradata? Or is it the data engineering pipeline? Or is it the wrong metrics in my Tableau dashboard? So we don't know who is accountable, and that adds to the time. To answer some of these problems, of course, we have the so-called modern data stack. But modern data stack has now grown to be literally thousands of products, thousands of not thousands, but dozens and dozens of micro-segmentation of categories. And we're becoming very narrowly focused. So a lot of these products are not even mature at this point. So what do we do as an end user? We say, you know what, I need to run my marketing campaign. I cannot rely on my data team to give me data on time. I'll just make a copy. So now we've got these data silos, which means at some point in time, we are going to lose track of which is the source of truth. Where should I go for the single response? I have seen, I've spoken to a lot of people who have migrated from on-premises to the cloud, and they've taken all of this baggage into the cloud, which means that you've got all these machine learning models that have been trained 18 months ago on an outdated data, but they're sitting there. If somebody runs those models, it can put an organization at risk because that data may not be correct. Anyway, I digress. The problem is that when you create all these silos and you create all these new formulas, KPIs, reports, dashboards, if there's no discovery of that, then we are doomed to keep repeating this endless cycle of building more and more data assets. What does all of that lead to? suboptimal developer experience. And here is a rub. If the developer productivity is low, then the business organization productivity is also going to be low. And no business wants that. So what is the impact on the business with all this? It blocks innovation. For example, it takes too long to build and deliver analytics because there's so much complexity that we have added into our pipelines on the data, which is not even reliable, available, low quality, is out of date. And we are spending a ton of resources on debugging these brittle and error-prone pipelines. We don't trust the data, data privacy concerns, and then, of course, the cost goes up. How many times I hear that, I moved to the cloud, but my cost went up. It's not because the cloud was more expensive. It is because the cloud changed the way we do things. And all of a sudden, your CapEx where you were locked suddenly became OpEx. But because of this inefficiency, you cannot predict your cost and it's unsustainable. All of this is leading to low developer productivity. So I'm going to pivot now because I want to spend most of this time on what is it that we are doing to solve this problem. So what are the 3 steps? So let's take a look at the 3 most critical steps if we sort of move up the chain. One of I would say one of my top topics till LLMs and ChatGPT took over was data products. Because in data product, and we'll see on the next slide, what is a data product, because there is a lot of confusion. In fact, there's so much confusion. A few weeks ago, I wrote a Medium blog called What Exactly is a Data Product? Within 5 days, there were 85,000 views on that LinkedIn post. Never have I seen such an interest in this topic, where we are passing the control to the people who are experts, who know the context of data. They certainly become accountable to deliver the data outcome. They are accountable for the quality of data and for veracity of data. But these people are not hardcore developers. So we cannot expect them to have all the software engineering best practices. So what do they need? They need a low-code platform. That low-code platform allows them to be very productive, because we know that's a huge problem. So these citizen developers, citizen analysts, citizen integrators now are developing using a low-code platform. However, the platform is as good as a platform is. The data engineers still need to go in. Maybe they need to optimize. Maybe they need to refine the work that is done. For that, we need to make sure that we're not locked into something proprietary. We have open standards, whether the file formats or the code which is being generated, or the way it is being orchestrated, the way it's being version controlled. As long as that is open standard, it protects us from changes in the technology. So because we can easily migrate off something that is well understood in the open source space. Now, before I pass it on to Raj, I want to talk to you one last slide on data products. So a data product is basically a combination of the data sets that make up the data with the business semantic domain layer on top, which could be the KPIs, the semantic layer, the reports, the dashboard. And then the third piece is a access method, which is could be an API, it could be a SQL access. From a technical point of view, by the way, it doesn't change. It could be a materialized view. It could be a report. It could be a dashboard with an API. What is different is the way we build it is by using product management best practices. And then there's an accompanying catalog where we can discover what products have we created, so then we can reuse them in the right product. So with that, Raj, I am so happy to hand it over to you so you can show us what is new in prophecy.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev. Really appreciate this. All right, everybody. So let's get down to it. Let's talk about what we are building and what problems we saw in the market and what, and what led us to build the products. So we are very, very driven by what our customers want. So just as a quick preview before I get into the problem. So Prophecy is focused on low-code data transformation. Yes, we'll do extract, transform, load, but the focus is on data transformation. So for example, you'll have all your operational systems, you're getting the raw data in, now you've got to combine the data, clean the data, the many, many steps to that, right? In the end, you're going to put your data into the right shape for analytics. Perhaps you'll put it in a star schema, perhaps you'll, if you're doing machine learning, put it as features, but we want to make all of that very simple with visual transforms, right? So now what are we seeing, right? So Prophecy, one is a product that's used by data platform and the business data teams, right? And the data platform team might be using Spark, Databricks, a lot of people use us, and that's kind of been our product. And now the business data teams are, they are focused so much on adding business value, right? Technology is a means to an end, right? And they're always blocked for data. They're like, can I do this stuff myself? It's like, no, you need to go back to the data platform team. So today's focus is here, right? This is our focus of the 3.0 release of low-code SQL. It's like, what about the business data teams? So we went back and said, what do you guys need, right? So as we talked to many of the business data teams, they said the following. The first thing they say is, I want a self-serve platform. That means I want to be, master of my own destiny. I want to be able to build my own transformations. And, because they have to be aligned with my changing business priorities. Today my manager says, I want this. Then suddenly they say, oh, no, I want that today, right? It's like, you can't go back to the data platform team and say, now change my priorities and put it into a ticket that you'll get after 3 months. That's the first thing. Now, second thing is, all the data users have to be enabled, right? So so we look at it and say technology has to go meet every data user at their skill set, because they are experts in their data, they are experts in their analytics. It's not their job to be, experts in the nuts and bolts of the technology. So we have to meet them where they are. And, we found that most of them prefer low code, and they've used low code products, and some of them prefer to write SQL code, and they want to work together. So you can't pick one or the other, right? So we said, okay, we have to enable all data users. That's something we have to do. The other thing is they want to build data product. They want to build it quickly. And then they want to be able to share it with all the other people, right? So we say, okay, you can quickly visually build it. You can, step by step, you do interactive development. And I'm sure Maciej will have a lot of nice stuff about that in the demo. And then you need to be able to publish, and you need to be able to subscribe, right? I can say, okay, this is my standard customer data set. Now, like Sanjeev just said, right? It's like people don't want to do the work again and again. If one team has built a good customer data set, they should just publish it and everybody else should use it, right? And then comes this point of, what about, can I put that into production? Right? So that's the other thing, right? It's like, of course, you will need to be visually able to orchestrate it. Hey, run this every day at 9 a.m. Right? And then the other thing is, some customers we saw, have a tool like Alteryx, and they build those visual pipelines, and then it runs on the desktop. And then they ask the data platform team, can you run it in production? And it has to be rewritten. And that's a no-no. So whatever they have to do, they should be able to put into production. It has to run natively at scale, all that good stuff. So then we go back and say, well, what are your options today? Right? Now we understand what the customer wants, what the user wants. Now we go and say, what solutions do they have today? So Alteryx is quite popular with a lot of business data users, right? And there's good stuff about it, right? They enable many business data users. Everybody can use it. It's visual, it's simple, very productive, right? And very standard. Everybody's building these pipelines of the same Lego blocks. So a new person comes in, they can quickly understand. So a lot of stuff to love there. On the other hand, SQL with DBT core, and we try to be very careful. So if I'm saying DBT in this, I mean SQL with DBT core, because DBT also has a commercial product. We are not talking about that. DBT core is the format in which DBT is stored. So it's open source code, powerful and flexible. That's right. So you'll never run out of power. You can do anything you want. You have the software best practices. You can do a Git commit, you can write some tests and push things to production. If something breaks, you can go back to the previous version. That's really good. And the SQL code is native, right? That means it's going to perform well on your data warehouse. That's good to love. So everything is good so far, right? Then where's the problem? The problem is you have to use one of them. You can't use both. And if you pick Alteryx, you give everything that's good about DBT. If you use DBT, you give everything up that's good about Alteryx. So if you use Alteryx, now you are in a walled garden. You can't interact with code. Your coding people are sitting in their own silo. You are sitting in their silo. Same pipelines can't be managed by both of them. And the Alteryx pipelines will run on the desktop and maybe on Alteryx server. It's not going to go into production. So now they have to be rewritten. That's no good. What about DBT? DBT is really good. But now what happened? You left 3/4 of your business data users behind who only do use visual drag and drop. What good is that? You can say, oh, I'm now an analytics developer who put a stamp on it and I'm better than the others, but you can't leave your rest of the people behind. So, neither of them work. So we said, okay, how do we solve this, right? So what Prophecy does is it enables more users on their existing data platform, whatever you've chosen, Databricks, your cloud data warehouse, Snowflake, and increases productivity there, right? So of course, we have the data engineering thing. We're not talking about that today. We are talking about data transformation. So you have a data analyst who will use visual drag and drop to build data pipelines, and it will immediately convert to SQL code with DBT code. We generate whatever is the current industry standard. We wanted the code to be 100% open source in a format, so there's no controversy there. So we interplay well with DBT. Now, Prophecy is a unique product in that sense that it will generate high quality code on Git. And the other thing is, if you change the SQL code in Prophecy, the visual pipeline will change instantly. So we've built this technology that merges the two together, visual and code. It's the same thing in Prophecy. The other thing is, it still retains all the power of code. There's nothing that you can do in code that you can't do in Prophecy. So people typically build frameworks. If you were using the DBT format, you would use macros for these. So those are a first-class citizen. They were a first-class citizen on Spark and Databricks as well. They're a first-class citizen here. So you can create your own frameworks, reusable components, and use them. So in summary, and Maciej will show this and it'll be a lot more fun. So we're keeping all the fun stuff for the end. So what does Prophecy do for business data teams? The first thing is we must be low code. It has to enable all users, right? And you can do visual drag and drop, or you can write code, and all of it in the same platform. Now that's unique, right? The second thing is you have to be able to build and share trusted data products. Trusted means everything is versioned. You have tests, you have data tests, you have transformation tests, and then you can publish it. And what does the product mean, right? Like Sanjeev said, like if I have to look at a product, I go to a grocery store and I can look at a product. It's lying out there on the shelf. I can evaluate it. I can say, do I want to buy this? Do I not want to buy this, right? So if you have a data set, you have to be able to look at it and say, is it fresh? How many people are using it? What is the quality? Oh, this looks good. I'll use it. But if it's just code, you have none of that information. So the third thing is rapidly move things into production. Yes, it has to be low code has to be there, but it has to be run at scale natively. So there's, all of that good stuff. We talked about that. And finally, everything is open and extensible, right? That means that if you're using Prophecy, even if you're using it visually, all your assets are 100% open source SQL code. Nothing is proprietary. Underneath, it's just SQL code. So, what do you have to lose? So we're looking at it and saying, how can we give the best of both worlds, the visual and the code? And we're like, that's what we have. So just stepping back for a second, talking about the ecosystem, because modern data stack is all the rage, right? So you have your operational data here on the left, applications, OLTP databases, and something like Fivetran, right? That's an EL solution. They don't have transformation. So, or some pre-built transformation, they're going to dump a copy of that data here. Now, 90% of the work is data transformation. So what are you going to do? The raw data has to be transformed into ready to analytics data. So you're going to keep doing transformation. If you use something like Alteryx, Matillion, you get low code, but now you're locked into their format. You can't interact with the code people, or you use code. You could have used Spark, you can use SQL, but you have to choose between one of them. And some users will use this, some will use that, and they can't work on the same assets. What Prophecy says is, hey, we'll give you both, right? You can edit either side. You can edit visually, you can edit code, and you get advantages of both. So there's no reason to pick anything else. With that, I'm going to pass it on to Maciej. This is the last fun part that we've been waiting for. And we'll see what's new with Prophecy and look at the demo. Maciej, take it from here, please.
Absolutely awesome. Thank you so much, Sanjeev and Raj. This was an amazing overview of data products and what's the best way to build them. Hey, everyone, super excited to be here. I was following all the messages on chat, people introducing themselves from where you are. It's truly a pleasure to be in front of this super international audience. So today I'm particularly excited to be here with you to show you not just the standard Prophecy demo, but the demo of the next major release of our product, Prophecy 3.0. And Prophecy 3.0 is packed with a lot of exciting features. And in this video specifically, we're going to focus on low-code SQL. So this is our diagram of all the good things that Prophecy provides you, all the way from low-code Spark environment, low-code Airflow, and low-code SQL. So today, specifically focused on low-code SQL. And as Raj has articulated it really well, by adding Prophecy low-code SQL to our platform, we're actually bridging this gap by combining the best of the both worlds, right? The two different data transformation approaches, the visual and the code-based approach. And this unique visual to code technology allows both coders and visual users to now start collaborating on the same data and building the data products much faster. Engineers can start using the SQL interface, and visual developers can use our low-code visual interface. Business users can truly leverage now the value of the data. And so let's just go ahead and straight jump into the demo. No need for any more slides. Here we go. So this is the product itself. One super important thing to mention, as Raj did say, our Prophecy low-code SQL is based on dbt core. So if you've built projects already in dbt core, very easy to import them directly into Prophecy and start working with them directly. Of course, no dbt knowledge or license by any means is required. So in this demo, we are actually going to look at two different projects. One of my projects is a project developed by a platform team. They've built my staging layer. And another project we're going to build live with you, it's going to be a project built by a business team. I'm going to pretend to be a business stakeholder, building a reporting layer on top of what my platform team has developed. I can actually open up my staging project right here and see all the models and data products that they've built for me. All right, so I can see 3 different staging tables that they have created and a bunch of functions also that I'll be able to reuse within my project. All of the work that they've done is fully backed by code on Git. So I can actually pop up the repository that they are using. In this case, in our organization, we're using GitHub, but of course, any Git is very well supported. And you can see the standard stuff that you would expect out of a code project, right? You have your commits, branches, and the actual model definitions, which are, in this case, of course, SQL queries themselves. Okay, so this is my staging project. Platform did a good job. Let's go ahead and now build a completely brand new project that's going to act as my reporting layer. So let's go ahead and click create. And this is going to be my customers reporting project. As we mentioned, of course, Prophecy does support PySpark and Scala as well. We've had tremendous amount of production customers using that. But in this case, we're going to leverage the brand new thing, SQL. And all of the work that we're going to be doing is going to be directly running on top of our Databricks warehouse. Okay. I'm a business stakeholder. I still want to leverage all the best software engineering practices. So let's go ahead and make sure that all my code that I'm going to be developing is going to be stored as high performance native code directly on Git. I can just choose an existing repository that I have pre-created already and can go ahead and finalize my project. Awesome, there we go. So now we have a brand new project, and here's my empty canvas on which now I can start building my new data products for my business team. As we mentioned, however, I don't really want to just start from scratch. I would like to leverage what the platform team has created. So first of all, let's go ahead and create my development branch so that I can start building my data products and leveraging existing work. Prophecy, of course, supports all the best software engineering practices. And so we're going to showcase that as well. And I just have to connect to my Databricks warehouse so that I can actually start interactively running my code, seeing all the available data assets to me. Awesome. So now to leverage all the stuff that my platform team has created, I just have to start depending on them, create a simple dependency. You can create various dependencies. You can depend on existing DBT project, as we've already mentioned, prophecy projects, or projects that are completely versioned on Git. So I'm going to go ahead and use a GitHub project in this case and create the dependency. Perfect. That's how simple it is to now start leveraging other teams' data assets. And in the left bottom corner, now I can see all of this stuff that the platform team has developed. I can see all of their models, seeds, and functions that I can now start using. That's awesome. So let's go ahead and now build my report. I can create a brand new model from scratch. Model is going to act as my end data asset, a table that then later on I can visualize as well within some BI tool. I'm going to create my customers reporting model. And I can already see that I have my model initialized here. It's time now to build the actual transformation logic. Couple of important things to mention on the canvas itself. Of course, right top, I have my cluster connection. This is connected to my warehouse on Databricks. I'm going to actually show you how some of those queries are going to be running there. On the left top, I have all of the gems available to me. Right, those are my sources, targets, and transformations that I can just start easily dragging and dropping into the canvas. And on the left-hand side, I have my full environment, right? So everything that, because in this case, I'm using Databricks, everything within Unity catalog is available to me, all the catalogs, databases, and tables. However, of course, we have really good support for all the other warehouses as well. I can pop up my main catalog in this case and see all the tables that are available to me. Tables are, of course, loaded live directly from my Databricks environment. Perfect. So if you have here a bunch of tables existing, I would like to start using my, in this case, staging customers table. And I would like to also merge it with my orders table. Prophecy automatically suggests you some of the tables, high quality tables you might want to join with. That's awesome. In this case, I'm going to pick the orders payments table. As I drag and drop this table, Prophecy not only allows me to start leveraging it, but actually starts building some of the transformations for me as well. So I can see that already it suggests me a join, since both of the tables that I'm trying to use have a common primary key column. Awesome. So now I dragged and dropped it. The join was automatically created for me. I can pop it up and I'll be able to see that the condition has been written. And there's a set of cleaned expressions. That's awesome. The only thing they have to do is just give it a little bit of a better name so that the next person can actually understand what they've done. Now that we've developed our first logic, it's time to, of course, test it as well. We don't want to live in a black box where we can't test our code. We would like to start interactively running it. On every single gem, there's this small play icon. I can click on it directly and start seeing the code executed for me behind the scenes automatically. All the dependent models that I was using would be rerun for me, started fresh, and I would be able to leverage the existing tables as well. As this code runs, we can actually see it all happening directly on top of my Databricks warehouse or whatever SQL warehouse you're using. We're just running native code directly on top of your system. And we can see that now, all of our queries are running. Perfect. This is going to take a few seconds to execute, but of course, while this is executing, we can keep on developing, right? So let's go ahead and drag and drop our first reformat component that's going to act as a simple transformation. Actually, our queries have already executed, so we can also see the data that was resulted out of our join component, right? So we see all of our customers and orders columns right here. Perfect. As the first transformation, what I would like to do is I would like to actually compute how long it took for me to deliver the packages to my customers, right? I have the order date and the receipt date. I would like to compute a nice date on a nice date span on top of that. I can open up my reformat component. I can see here all the available columns to me. That's awesome. I'll just add all of them. And now I would like to start building my actual delivery time column. I can just type the delivery time column name, and I can pop up the expression builder. As we mentioned, the platform team has already provided us with various utility functions that I can start leveraging. They've actually built for me already a pretty data-diff function. I can just type it in and automatically start leveraging functions created by other teams. Okay, awesome. So I'm using that function. I would like to see what columns are available to me. As we mentioned, there is the order date and receipt date. So I'm going to compute the difference between both of those columns. So let's type that in. One of them is order date, one of them is receipt date. Perfect. As you can see, Prophecy automatically uses the best syntax for you, right? So the only really skill set that should be required for either business users or even data engineers to be productive on top of Prophecy is just really knowledge of like those basic Excel-like functions. Know how to use Excel functions? Awesome, now you can become a productive data engineer on top of big data. Perfect. So we have our first expression written as a reformat. This is, however, supposed to be an aggregated report. So let's add one more component, which is now going to aggregate our logic. This is going to be last component, so I can just connect it finally to my model output. Okay, let's open up that aggregate component. What I would like to aggregate it by is just the standard amounts and delivery time aggregations. So I can just sum my amounts, and you can see how Prophecy is helpful with typing all of those expressions. All the available columns are visible to you right here, and all the available functions are just at the tip of your fingers. Perfect. So now we have our complete report ready. This just took a couple of minutes. That was amazing how easy it is. But of course, we can also handle much more complex transformations than this. This was a fairly easy example. dbt enables users to leverage even more complex things like macros, right? And we make them really easy through a visual interface. So here we have computed our amounts just as a single amount per customer. What if I would like to split it up by the payments that the customers have used? Well, I can actually create a new variable directly within the product itself called payment methods. By those payment methods, I would like to aggregate my report, right? So I would like to essentially get a different amount for my credit card payments, coupons, and direct bank transfers. Let's go ahead and modify slightly our aggregate component to leverage that functionality as well. I'll just add a for loop that will aggregate over all the payment methods within that I just provided. For every single payment method, I would like to create a new column that's going to sum up all the amounts. Perfect. And that's how easy it is. Prophecy is also not just a visual editor, right? Everything that we've been doing so far is actually cleanly committed on Git as pure code. I can open up the code tab directly here. And this is something that the more skilled engineers, data engineers, maybe analytical engineers will really love. Look at all of this code that Prophecy has generated for you. It has turned all this hard work from the visual canvas into high performance code. And this code is completely editable as well. I can actually go ahead and introduce one more gem right here. So let's just go ahead, and I already have a very small SQL statement that's just going to be limiting the number of results within my report, as I would like to only focus on the first 1,000 customers. Perfect. After I jump to the visual view, I can see this gem automatically pop up right here for me. Awesome. So we just built a brand new table from scratch, but this is just the beginning of all the cool things that you can do with Prophecy. right? Now we have our production table ready. We can start running it. What we would like to do, however, is get this report delivered to us monthly. So what I can do is I can actually go ahead and build a job directly from the Prophecy interface as well, and schedule my report to run on whatever interval I would like. So I'm just going to set this up on to run on the first day of every single month and build my new job. The new job is going to be running natively on top of your Databricks scheduler, but of course you can also leverage Airflow for those use cases as well. I can drag and drop my dbt package in this case, choose my reporting project, orchestrate directly from the main branch, and run my whole model. And that's it. Next time I'm going to start running my, next time I release my project, my job is going to start running for me monthly. The very last step now for us is to actually commit our code and fully productionize it. Prophecy, of course, supports all the best Git practices, and we make Git really easy for everyone. I can just click directly on my commit tab, and I'll see all the new entities that we've built, all the new sources, jobs, and models that we have created. The commit message is even automatically written for us. Okay, so I'm just going to commit all my code directly. Perfect. Pull whatever other team members might have built within my repository back into my development setup. If there have been any conflicts, of course, I can also resolve them very quickly. And then I'll be able to merge my code back into my production branch. Also in the background, we're of course rebuilding and testing all this code that you've built in real time. Perfect. Now the final step is to finally just say, hey, this is my very first version of my project, and let's release it. Prophecy will run the full CI/CD cycle for you, of course, leveraging in the background the best software engineering practices, right? We'll build your assets, test them, and finally deploy them to run live on top of your Databricks environment. That's it. We've built our new reporting layer, built a new model from scratch, leveraged what our platform team has already created for us, scheduled it, and now it's running in production for us directly. We believe that this low-code editor is a true game changer, and to enable everyone to work with data directly and make them significantly more productive. Ashley, back to you.
Thanks so much, Maciej. Thank you, everyone. And also, I just want to go ahead and say we know that we have some questions that have come in from the audience. So we'd like to go ahead and hand it over actually to Sanjeev, who is going to facilitate a little Q&A here.
Yep, thank you so much. I have to say there's a reason why Maciej's name rhymes with magic. So with that, I'm going to go to the questions. So we have a number of questions that have come up. The first one is from my good friend, Neil Graydon. He has been around the block, so it's no surprise. His question is, companies with thousands of legacy ETL transformations have difficulty converting to cloud, even from the same vendor. Are you suggesting they migrate ETL or start over?
So I can take a stab at this. So there's a couple of different choices, right? So one is you can, of course, write your new transforms here, but Prophecy also has import functionality. So a lot of our customers have been on premises, some are using ab initio, some have been using Informatica, some are using more on the, so that is the production ETL side perhaps, right, or IBM data stage. And then some customers might be using Alteryx or SnapLogic or one of the other things that runs on the data warehouse. Prophecy provides you import functionality. You can just go in and say import, put those data pipelines there, and they will get automatically rewritten and pulled into Prophecy. You can just run it, test it, and get going. So in that sense, you can import everything into this new environment, modernize your data pipelines, and get them running on the cloud. And I believe we are the only company that provides those import functionality as well.
Great, thank you so much, Raj. The next question I have, this might be better from Maciej. The question from Harper is how the join of two tables can be automatically done, do the two tables have to be created with foreign keys?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So traditional relational databases, of course, do allow you to mention the relationship between keys. Not all warehouses support something like that. And very often also your data model sometimes doesn't even account for it, right? It's extra work for engineers to be adding this information. Within our product, we actually smartly detect which tables can be joined by looking at your previous queries, right? So we actually scan all the queries that have been historically executed on the warehouse, and by looking at the actual table structure, right? In this case that I was just showing you, the two tables mentioned the same column type, and this is a query that I've been running for a while. So that's why the tool was automatically able to infer this information for me. It was not in any way, hard-coded within the metadata of your warehouse, though of course, if it was, the tool would also leverage that part as well.
That is great. Thank you so much, Maciej. Eric Kavanagh, another very good friend of mine, has a question about importing existing ETL scripts into Prophecy and then have them dynamically repurposed. Is that the holy grail of data integration modernization? Right? Actually,
Yeah,
I had the same question.
I think we think that's the holy grail, right? Because people are able to, the basic thing that when we are talking to enterprise, and we work with a lot of really large companies as well. So we have many customers who are Fortune 50, Fortune 10, right? And they have like tens of thousands of pipelines, and we can pull those in, right? Because what has happened is, some part of the team has one product, say Ab initio, another one has Informatica, and and they bought another company, and that has now become a business unit that has data stage. And what we can do is modernize and consolidate all of them, import them, and get them to this open source modern world. We modernize frameworks as well. And if you have something like Informatica, I saw another question, so I'm just going to merge it with that, Sanjeev, that if you are pulling in Informatica code, they will have query push down, right? So there'll be Informatica, and in the middle, they'll run a SQL script that might run on Teradata, that might run on Microsoft SSIS. So when you're modernizing that, it'll also pull all of that in. It'll also take all the push down queries and convert them automatically as well. So there are really no constraints. We'll be very sophisticated about it. Sanjeev, you're muted.
So we have a follow-up question from Neil, and he's asking, I get the backend process of data management, but the reporting is not very impressive. There's too much of work for basic BI capabilities, MicroStrategy generated complex SQL code, turn to each database and version in real time 25 plus years ago. So I'm not sure what the question is, but how do we deal with the fact that SQL code could not necessarily just be in ETL, it could even be in a BI tool? So that's a great question. Any thoughts?
No, I think I'll take a stab at this, but basically what's going on, right? And I understand where Neil is coming from, right? A lot of the things in modern data stack, right? You look at it and the basic thing, right? And what we covered is modern data stack is not modern. So the first thing is it's not modern, it's not sophisticated. And what has happened is that a lot of the products on premises have been very sophisticated. And for people who have worked in enterprise space, they understand this. But a lot of people, so let's say you have what's going on with the modern data stack. I'll take a little bit of a tangent and come right back to this. So you have a lot of people who are building companies in modern data stack. They've never worked in large enterprises and seen sophisticated products, right? And then they're selling to people in startups and they have not seen it, right? And then of course VCs are talking to both of them and they've never seen it, right? So a lot of the times we are going in and seeing that a product like Ab initio on premises used to be quite sophisticated, and we are adding all that sophistication. And what Neil is pointing to is that even for basic business intelligence, MicroStrategy also had advanced features. So I think what we are doing is there's no such product in the cloud today that is very advanced. And what we are doing is building that advanced product. Of course, we'll build it. It takes time to get it there, but we'll get, Neil, if you have specific things that you want, we're happy to work with you and add those. But we are getting to that direction, and probably the only company who's saying that we'll build something that is going to match the sophistication of the best on-premises product with the open source new world and make it run very well on the cloud technologies.
Thank you, Raj. I can see this whole topic of migration is a very important thing. There's so many questions that are coming in about hidden features, special characters, performance, latency, all of that. So we don't have time to cover all of this. There's one question that I do want to touch upon, which is the question is, you're talking about data products, and what about data mesh? So the point I want to make here is that data products did came into prominence because of data mesh. There's no question about that, but you don't need a data mesh. Sometimes data mesh may be an overkill for a company that doesn't have a very complex, fragmented environment. So you don't need data mesh to do data products. So you can do it independently as a best practice to do it. So I see Neil has some more questions, Eric, but we are running very close to the end, and I want to leave enough time for Ashley to close us out. So maybe we can get back to the questions that are coming in over email.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sanjeev. Absolutely. We definitely, guys, we totally appreciate all the questions we're getting and how engaged the audience is. We will be following up with each of you, and we'll be happy to connect you with the technical expert. And with that, Sanjeev or Maciej, I'd love to go ahead and show some of the programs that we have available for our audience to continue their learning with Prophecy. And we can go ahead and pull up that slide. Perfect. Thank you so much. Yep. So just going to learn more. So again, we had a great conversation today. We had a fantastic demo from Maciej, and again, we just want to invite our audience to continue learning about Prophecy. And there's no better way to do it than to get your hands dirty, get into the free trial, and experience these low-code transformations. This SQL, low-code SQL that Maciej also shared and discussed in his demo, and Raj as well, is available in the trial. So please check it out. That link is available in the chat. Anya's putting that in there, and we welcome you to get started with our product. Give everyone a few seconds there. And then also we're super excited. Sanjeev, this is a great picture of you. We're so excited to have a brand new white paper written from Sanjeev himself on democratizing transformations, 3 keys to impactful data products with low code. This white paper was just released today from Sanjeev. So go ahead and check out that link in the chat as well. There's some really powerful use cases also in this white paper from our customers over at the Texas Rangers and Waterfall Asset Management. So encourage you guys to check it out to learn more about our solution. And lastly, last but certainly not least, we're super excited about our next webinar happening on June 15th with our partners over at Databricks and our customer Optum. So how Optum realized data transformation in the cloud with Prophecy and Databricks. So that link is also in the chat. No better way to follow a session like today's than hearing from a customer themselves. So this will be a great interactive discussion and use case from Sumesh. So please join us on the 15th.
And then a quick line to add to that, like that's tens of thousands of pipelines. That's some really, and modernizing frameworks and reusable components, and that's some really sophisticated stuff. You should definitely show up there.
Yeah, awesome. Totally agree. Yep, again, those links are in the chat. We will be following up with an email of the recording, and we'll include all of the links that I just mentioned previously in that email, so check it out. Thank you all again for joining. Please join me in thanking all of our wonderful speakers, and we hope to see you on our next webinar with Optum and Databricks. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.